your pony knowledge by. Oh, better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable do. Your horse racing fantasy come true. But no, stable do.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
Back here with This Weekend in Stable Duel. Hope everyone had a very nice Breeders' Cup. And Sniper, the man, Barry Spears, is here alongside Gino Bacola. Our buddy Matt DeSantis, who you normally see on the show, he has a busy couple weeks coming up. So fingers crossed, hopefully he can join us one of these next few. But if not, in the next month or so, he'll be back with us regularly. Sniper, how'd the Breeders' Cup go for you, buddy? It wasn't like huge prices, but on Friday we saw some kind of like middle prices. Then on Saturday, some of the stars showed up and we got to see Flightline. But you know what? If you were playing against the chalk, like we do a lot of those chalks went down. Nest went down, Golden Pal went down, Cave Rock went down. So some of the big favorites over the weekend went down in defeat. How did it all go for you?
I did okay. I actually made most of my money on Friday.
Same here.
Rather than Saturday. I had a
we
really
had a
good
great
day on
start,
Friday.
right? You, me, and Matt, like the first horse in the first race on top, and the horse was like 6-1.
Yeah. Yeah. I centered a lot of bets through that one horse, going into and out of that race. So it ended up pretty good Friday. On Saturday, I made a couple of betting mistakes. And it kind of cost me, and things go a different way. Like if Cyberknife wins, I probably have a way better day than I had.
Sure.
So things like that. Normal kind of day-to-day sort of stuff.
We got to see Flightline look awesome, but when there's a pick 4 that ends and it pays $45, I'm usually not doing well.
Yeah, that's not my cup of tea.
No, that's usually not great stuff for me. But what is great stuff is anytime we can dive into some weekend racing. And now, Barry, the calendar is going to shift for us a little bit. For the last 5-6 weeks, we had a lot of Keeneland and a lot of Santa Anita. Now it'll be Del Mar and it'll be some Gulfstream coming up. This weekend, I'll have mainly Del Mar. I think you're going to have a couple Gulfstream plays. And then next weekend, I'll start to incorporate Gulfstream more. And we'll probably have Gulfstream
Tampa
will be a major focus for the next 4 or 5 months.
Tampa's opening up too, man. Don't forget that.
And Tampa's
23rd.
Excellent. We love the racing over at Tampa. Turf and dirt action, really competitive field sizes too. That's a fun track to get involved in. And then after Christmas, it'll shift back to Santa Anita, and then they'll be at Santa Anita for that 5-6 month long meet. So Del Mar, really fun that they go back to Del Mar and they run another meet at Del Mar, and they kick things off a little later on today. So what we'll do is we'll start at Del Mar because we both have a couple plays at Del Mar for today. Barry will dish out a couple for Gulfstream Park for later, also for anyone who's playing at Gulfstream today. And then we'll both jump to Saturday, dish out a few for Saturday over at Del Mar. If you're looking to get involved in Stable Duel games this weekend, so for today, you can play at Gulfstream, a $5 game or $150 double up. You can also play at Hawthorne. Shout out at Hawthorne. Our friend Emily Gullickson does a lot of the handicapping there with Jim Miller. So if you ever need any help there, you can check out Emily's work. She does a fantastic job. Then Del Mar has a $40 game today. Del Mar tomorrow has a $50 game. Gulfstream has 2 more options. And then Woodbine also has a game tomorrow. I think they have a couple stakes races up at Woodbine, so a $10 game. Lots of options, lots of Del Mar, lots of Gulfstream in the weeks moving forward with Stable Duel. Okay, let's talk a little Del Mar for Friday. I'm looking at the 5th and the 6th for Del Mar for Friday. Where are you looking, my man?
4, 5, and 7.
Okay, so let's jump in race number 4. Oh, you know what? I got to give, as we get to the 4th race too, I got to give a couple shout outs. Today, happy birthday to my mom, Mrs. Bacola.
Hey.
November 11th. And then immediately following tomorrow, the main man Milo, 3 years old. 3 years old. So a couple of really important birthdays for me back to back. Mom and then Milo in the next 2. I'm going to go pick up Milo in a couple hours from the airport. Him and Mom were, him and Stephanie, my girlfriend, were in Texas for the week visiting her family. So shout outs, couple happy birthday shout outs. That means I need to make some money today because I need money for the birthday gifts. You know, I got a lot of stuff wrapped up in Toy Story wrapping paper over here, and my bank account's not looking all that great. I had to get a lot. I had to get a lot of stuff. I got all the guys. I got a Buzz. I got a Slink. I got a Rex. I got all the Toy Story toys here for him to open up. So let's dive into the fourth. Barry, where are you going to help us make some money today at Del Mar?
Yeah, this is an interesting race, I thought. It's a 32,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime 6 furlong race on the main track, and I ended up on number 8, Troubadour. I just believe this horse is in the right spot at the right time. All the speed is inside of him. Claimed from last race by claimed off of Richard Mandela by Robertino Diodoro, and it looked, the way the race took shape, it looked like that horse needed one. It hadn't been out since July 24th. Ran on October 2nd. Ran okay, but this horse shows a lot more, and I think that was a nice prep for this race, and Diodoro was right on it to claim this horse, get him in a similar spot, and I think this horse merits a really, really good chance at a pretty decent price. I don't think we're going to get 5-1. I think that horse might get bet down a little bit more than that, but won't be the favorite, so we're good there.
I told you, I outed myself a while ago when I was watching Gilmore Girls, and I was telling everybody about it. And what was funny about it is that, like, there was a troubadour in the show, a guy that would just pop up randomly around and just be singing, which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny when they have those. And then there was one episode when all of these troubadours just came to the town. And so, like, there was like troubadours everywhere on every corner, people like singing about what you were doing. It was kind of funny. And so, like, I think Troubadour now, and I think of that as.
See, now you're making me want to go back and watch Gilmore Girls.
I know, and I will tell people, it's not like you think of it. If you say it out loud, you're like, this is probably not going to be good. If you like
trash,
if you like the kind of like high school kind of shows. If that's the kind of show that you're into, because I like those kind of shows.
Like a 90210 kind of thing?
Yes, Friday Night Lights type of thing. Like if you like those
like
settings,
a drama, a high school
you'll love that. You'll eat it up. And I'm a big fan of the fish out of water. I like the bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks comes to the small town. Like I love those kind of things.
Dylan McKay, that's you.
Exactly, man. I eat those things up. I eat them up. So Troubadours all over Gilmore Girls. They're singing along as we continue on Del Mar's Friday, November the 11th card, and we move to race number 5. So, Sniper, in this 5th race, I thought there were a couple horses.
You're in this race? You picked a horse in this race?
I'm in the 5th. We're in the 5th.
Okay, I got a feeling we're on the same one.
Okay, I'm on the deuce, Kaizon.
Oh, no. Okay,
here.
Never mind.
And, I'm looking at Kaizon more and more. I just wanted to pull up his last race in particular because, he's in the race with a bunch of horses that are in this same field. Petruccio, you have Durante, and you have Flint Stroll, who are all in here. Kaizon's the 4. He outfinished 2 of them. He was right behind Petruccio, and Petruccio is going to be a much shorter price. So let's watch the 4 in here. Kaizon. So this is in the Santa Anita 7th race. This is the last time that we saw him race. He's kind of slow out of the gate, and he kind of sneakily gets pushed all the way towards the rear. And now he's, in between horses at the back of the pack going into the first turn. You're going to be about 10 lengths out of it. Just not really in a spot you want to be. Like he's bumping around down towards the back, not in a great spot, but he settles pretty nicely. And this is in a very similar type spot where you had a field of 10. You had common rivals from today. And he's settling, but again, just like look where he is and the way this race is shaping up. It's just not where you want to be. He's in between horses. Oh, wow. He's got nowhere to go in front of him, and he's at the back of the pack. And you can already see that Tyler Bays is kind of having to stand up a little bit on him because he's just got nowhere to go. Now, as the field starts to stretch out a little bit, it looks kind of like he has some room in between. And now he'll start to actually he starts to get a little bit of room right here. And now you can actually see him like he's traveling well, but he's still pinned. Like he's still waiting at the back of the pack looking at the 4.
He's like, hey, I need somewhere to go. And then passes another horse. And
he just waits. Now he finally gets an opening down on the inside. it's just a little bit too late at this point. Like, he's right up into contention now. He's got to shift himself over and look again for horses. Like, again, he has to take up because the 3's tiring and angle around. I don't know if he was going to win the race, but he could have been a lot closer. The horse right in front of him is going to be a much shorter price than him, and he's just been a little bit unlucky when you start diving into his races. He's one of those horses who finds some trouble. I'm not going to act like it's not him a little when you end up getting into trouble 4, 5, 6 times. But if he's 12-1 and, the bulk of this field is going to be shorter than him, a horse like Petruccio is probably going to be 7-2. I think he's a really good price and offers you some really good value in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. The only thing is just the margin of error as far as
With a
with
horse
the
like him.
rider,
Yeah.
is very small.
You got to make all the right
yeah,
moves.
exactly. You have to keep him clear and keep his momentum forward, and then he'll probably finish strong. If he gets stopped or kind of held up, it might cost him like it did last time. But he was probably, with a better trip, probably right on the wire there with everybody else.
So Kaizon, he's 12-1. If you're playing stable duel today, that will only cost you $750 in your stable duel lineup to include him. So
See, I kind of went a different direction than you did in this race.
nice. Talk to us about your play in the 5th.
I ended up with number 6, Tis Quantum.
Okay. Yeah.
That horse was laid off for a bit after last May. After a pretty good run, it made a $45,000 claimer. Came back off the bench and won at this same trip. It a maiden $50,000 claimer. Then they went on the dirt, which I don't really understand why. And probably just needed a race to get in him before something else.
And
But
there
it looks
were
like
excuses. He had trouble,
Yeah.
and the race was like an off track too. He was in an okay spot, and then it just sort of like it wasn't there.
he
in
kind
front
of
him.
ran like a turf horse on the dirt.
You're right.
Usually they kind of run good and then fade late, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, he managed to beat half the field, and everybody else was way back. So, I think that effort first time out back in August is really, really, really solid in comparison to a lot of these horses that he doesn't need to lead. I think in code might kind of run off. Durrani, he's going to have to go. So the pace will be honest, and I think Tis Quantum has a good shot to get a good run late and pick up the pieces here for the win.
Yeah, I like this play too. I think if I'm playing any sort of exotics, I'd have to use Tis Quantum. He's very easy to go through in his 3 races. Like, his debut wasn't bad, but he's definitely a better horse on the turf. He won that race on the grass off of like a 15-month layoff, which was extremely impressive, coming from like 8th in a field of 11 to do so. And then
he's a 5-year-old and he's only have 3 starts, so he has physical problems. But
Absolutely.
when he shows up, he runs really well. So,
and that's probably why turf is better for him, right? He's
Right.
probably been a little
kinder.
ouchy. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's very nicer for his feet. So I
Give him a
like this.
shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Tis Quantum makes a ton of sense in here for the sniper. So we both attack race number 5. Even though we have different horses, we both feel like it's a race where you could find a little bit of value in here. I look at the 2. Barry looks at Tis Quantum. I think the runner for Barry is very, very live. Let's turn the page to race number 6. I have one in the 6th here. We have an optional claimer, a first level allowance going a mile on the dirt for Calbreds. I thought there was a lot of speed in this race, just going through the field. You have Grayson Sun, who's stretching out for the first time. This horse showed 21-3 speed at Los Al on the dirt, sprinting 2 starts back, and he draws the rail. I think he's got to go. You look at Seattle Breakout, who's stretching out from sprint races where he wasn't that far out of, the lead in the sprint. I think he's going to be forwardly placed. You've got Atomic Drop, who showed speed in almost all of his starts. I think he's going to be forwardly placed. Little Richard's Bellow is a little more of a sitter, but his races have all been sprinting.
That's the one that caught my eye in
Right?
this race, and I was like, why haven't they stretched this horse out at least once?
Because I
It's a
think
little
you
strange.
should. I think he's a must use for me in exotics because he could get a really nice trip. Like he might be able to get a jump on some of the others, but the horse that I actually landed on was the number 4, Mr. T's Thirsty, because I think he is one of the truer closers in this race. Now, they're going a mile on the dirt. If you look at his recent form, dirt sprint, long on the turf, dirt sprint, long on the turf. The only time we have long on the dirt, he won really easily going against $32,000 open claimers, which is probably pretty comparable to this race against Calbreds. And look at the trip he sat. It was 5th in a field of 5. He sat like 5 or 6 lengths off, and then he just inhaled the field because they went a little too quick early on. That's the same type of trip he might be able to sit in here. And his form is a little bit muddied up, but in his recent races, he's been facing all better horses, either stakes foes or open company. Now he's back in with Calbreds. I think they're just going to sit back. They're going to make one late run. He should be able to pick up at least pieces in this race. And if they go fast enough, where I think they may, he could win this race absolutely at 12-1. And he's just a little sneaky because that recent form hasn't been quite as good. Bill Spar doesn't have as many horses as he used to. He could still get a horse into the winner's circle, though. The 6, who you mentioned, is definitely on all my tickets, but there is a lot of speed. I'm looking for a closer, and I'm looking for the 4, who's going to come running late, Mr. T's Thirsty. I pity the fool. I pity the fool.
You're a Mr. T cereal. Remember that?
Oh, that was so funny.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know what's crazy is there's like this little niche on TikTok where they do like 80s and 90s nostalgia and stuff like that. And they do the commercials and the cartoons and stuff like that. And I saw a Mr. T cereal commercial the other day.
You know
Bring
what?
me back, man. Showing my age, apparently. Now.
Not enough people
Everybody knows.
give Mr. T the credit he deserves for WWE. You know, WWF and WrestleMania. That first WrestleMania was built on Hogan and Mr. T and the Rock and Wrestling connection. Mr. T was huge. They had all the videos of them training together. It was a blast. And there was actually like real behind the scenes stuff about how, you know, Mr. T was kind of small though, but he played a tough guy. And so some of the wrestlers were they didn't like the fact that he would come in like
little.
the tough
He's
guy.
The
They're
guy.
like, we can kick this guy that, you know what I mean? Like in real life. And so like Roddy Piper and Mr. T really didn't like each other because Roddy thought he was a real tough guy. And Mr. T, him and Cyndi Lauper, some of the unsung heroes of early WWF, because WWF actually had shows on MTV at that point. They would run wrestling events like the War to Settle the Score and like big pay-per-views. So shout out there. You never know where our tangents are going to take us on these live streams.
You know, from Gilmore Girls to Mr. T cereal.
Mr. T cereal to WWF. And Mr. T's Thirsty is the 4 in here. Barry had a mention for a horse who could sit a good trip, Little Richard's Bellow. Do you have any others for Del Mar for Friday?
Race 7 in the stakes race.
Race 7 in the stakes race. It's the Let It Ride. Shout out to one of the all-time great horse racing movies. We see the gifs and the memes all over. Richard Dreyfuss, just a fantastic
best line
one.
in that movie. The best line in that movie, and I love it every time. I probably should put it on my phone somewhere where I could just play it. Is when he said, "You like the odds on lightning?" Oh man.
So quotable.
Time Lord likes that line too.
And I haven't done it recently, but I got to. I used to always on like the night before the Breeders' Cups, I would always put that on when I was handicapping. You know, like because you kind of get like a good vibe.
Yeah,
you know, like it gives
definitely.
you like a good energy. But I've been doing the last couple of years, I get stuff done so early that I haven't been doing that lately. But you know what? I got to do that again coming up one of these days. Throw that on. You get that good energy. Well, the day before the big days. Let's talk about the Let It Ride stakes here, my man. Who you looking at?
Yeah, I ended up on number 9, Degree of Risk.
Yeah.
I think this horse has a really good shot at a decent price. If you look at this horse's past performances collectively, you can see the progression and how this horse has gotten better almost every couple of races, just made a jump up. I mean, the only slip up you could say was the Sham, and I don't think that horse belonged in that race, and B, it was on the dirt. So, if you put a line through that race, this horse looks outstanding on paper.
Nothing else is
Um,
bad.
no, I mean,
And
you
and
got
so
to.
for Stable Duel in particular, this is the exact type of horse that you like. They have the profile where there's been 2 races in their life they wouldn't have picked up Stable Duel points for you. They're always in the mix, and they're
Right,
always
always right there. I
at
mean,
a
this
good
horse is
price.
like,
A horse is never favored in his career. He's only been like a short price a couple times. They're always outrunning their odds.
yeah, and the only thing, the only knock against him is he just doesn't, he's right around it and hasn't gone over the top.
Yeah.
And maybe that little layoff in this kind of field, which isn't that great, to be honest with you, um, can kind of push him over the top and get him another win, because he's been close. I mean, the 8 is a maiden, so it's not like these are just like overwhelmingly good horses. And I think his body of work, and even his stakes race last year, the stakes races that he ran are really comparable to this one, and he ran really well and just didn't get it for whatever reason. He was close, just didn't do it. But if that trend continues, you're gonna have to kind of keep him on the back burner. But he's an improving 3-year-old. Has enough experience. I think he's in a real good spot
And
here.
he is going to be a great price, and then you'll have a lot of the other horses that are going to all be in like the same range.
Yeah, it's
And
like
he doesn't
nobody's
feel
3-1 on script seems about appropriate.
and
Um,
he just doesn't feel like he's 3 or 4 times the price of like Spycatcher, St. Anthony, Script, hand and the Deuce. They're all going to be between like 3 and 5 to 1.
mhm,
And I don't
yep.
think he's that far behind them.
No, not
Honestly.
at all.
No. And so that really is what it comes down to value in this race. I'm with the sniper on degree of risk. That feels like a really nice stable dual horse. 12 to 1. So we've given you a couple horses that, 12 to 1, 12 to 1, 12 to 1 horses that won't cost you much to use in your stable dual lineup. You put a couple of them in, you have plenty of room to maneuver, and you can spend up if you need to in a couple other spots. So that's a look at Del Mar for Friday. Remember, you can get involved in a $40 game, $2,000 in entries. But there's also a couple games at Gulfstream Park today. Starting next week, I'm gonna be getting back into Gulfstream. But Sniper, this is home court for you, my friend. Gulfstream Park for Friday. Let's give the people what they want: a little Sniper and a little Gulfstream Park. Tell us who you're looking at on Friday.
Yeah, we're gonna start in race number 2, which is a open 6250 claimer. And these are kind of like, at least around Gulfstream, these are like the war horses.
They've been there.
They're
They've done it.
lower level. They've done pretty much a whole bunch of things on the racetrack, whether it's going long, going short, on the turf. They're all battle tested, and they knock heads with each other quite a bit. That being said, I went to number 3, Causalistic. Now, if you notice, there's a horse in this race called Tone Feeling who
Yep.
won at a huge price last time at 34 to 1. I had the horse that day only because I know that when this horse kind of draws closer to the rail on the dirt at Gulfstream, it has a huge advantage. In fact, the day I was on TVG, this horse won the first race of the day that I was there and went wire to wire. We called it. And I think also Larry Collins had him, but we kind of knew what this horse was about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of speed in here. You have the 1 who should show some speed. Definitely the 2, Hyero, is going to show some speed. And this pace is probably going to heat up.
Yeah.
And that's why I ended up picking up on Causalistic. He looks like the best closer, dropping down a little bit. Second off the layoff. Comes in with some decent works. I think this is a really, really good spot for this horse. These aren't, stakes horses by any means, but they are winners, and they do knock heads. So it should be a pretty good race to watch anyway, if anything else. But I still think you're going to get your money's worth with Causalistic at 8 to 1.
With his running style too, he's not ever going to be a horse that has a ton of wins. And
No.
it's not because he's not in good form. It's just he catches races that don't have enough speed really to set up for what he needs to track back and make a late rally. This feels like a spot where he'll get that. And with horses like this, you always get a little bit better value because they're not as consistent. They're just tougher to trust with their running style. They'll pop up and win big races, but they don't do it time and time again. This feels like one of those times. You mentioned the pattern. Second start off the bench. You had off from April to October. You come back. You got the race under your belt now, and now you catch a field with a good amount of speed. Casualistic. The number, or causalistic.
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 Yes,
8-1 on causalistic for the sniper. That'll cost you 3,000 in your stable dual lineup. So plenty of opportunity when you're playing horses like that, and you're well above your average, which would only be 5,000 in those 6-1 shots. So that's race number 2 at Gulfstream. I think you said you had one more for Gulfstream for Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to connect this double right here.
Let's do it. Straight double. Let's go 2-3. We're going a mile on the dirt maiden specials.
Yes, and I ended up on number 6, Lipari. Now, this is like a subtle makeover package. So you have this horse that just did nothing. Pretty just kind of ran around the track.
Yep.
On the synthetic at a mile and a 16th first.
The Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew special. And honestly, Antonio Sano isn't great on the synthetic, but he's not bad. He wins races. He has a pretty good understanding of what kind of horses run on that surface. And I thought it was a little bit bizarre that horse kind of showed up there. But now, with this move over to this race, makes a lot more sense that they needed this race, that first race on October 7th. You see the Bullet on November 8th, and then the rider switch to Top Rider and Edgard Zayas. Those things combined make this horse ultra tough in a race that seems
right.
Yeah, exactly. That seems a little bit wide open. There's not really much to go off of as far as form. No huge high-priced horses that are like, oh, wow, we've been waiting for this one to show up. The horse that's the favorite looks okay, doesn't look unbeatable. The 4 in Miss Ukrainia looks okay, ran okay last time. But as you can see with that one, it was bet 38-1, 36-1, now 12-1 the last time. I mean, it's kind of lukewarm. And Unified Girl kind of did the same thing that Lipari did. And who wants to take 2-1 when you can get at least 5-1?
You dive through this field. I wouldn't be shocked, and she's a good stable dual horse, because if she opens up, if she opens up live at like first click, it's not going to surprise you, because you start eliminating the rest of this field, and it's like who is
left?
Intriguing to really like want to bet, right? And very few. But then you get to her, and you're like, oh, okay, she's lightly raced, she's got some upside. She's working well. You can just kind of put a line through that last race. There's like you said, she checks a lot of boxes. She picks up Top Rider, Lipari, the number 6, 5-1 on the morning line in a 2-year-old race. That's for the sniper a little later on today at Gulfstream Park. So that's race number 3. Remember, you can play Gulfstream today. 2 different options, a $5 game. If you just want to test it out, see what's going on. Maybe you haven't been playing Gulfstream all that much recently. Or if you want to play a bigger game, you can play $150 double up. Then tomorrow, 2 different options for you as well, $5 and $25 entry games at Gulfstream. So start looking at Gulfstream Park, and you can handicap along with us on Fridays and Saturdays as we get ready to head into these contests at Gulfstream. But we're going to head to Del Mar for Saturday. Let's shift our focus back on over to Del Mar and Southern California for Saturday racing. So Sniper, Saturday, Del Mar, what are some of the races that you're looking at?
4 and 7.
4 and 7. Okay, I've got a couple before you. So I'll start things out right off the bat in race number 1 with the number 3 horse. I'm looking at Nice Ice. And the 3, who's now going to come into the Steve Knapp barn. Honestly, he's stretching out, or this 7-year-old mare is stretching out from a couple sprint races. I think she might be the horse to catch in here. You start going through the field, Kuora, Whistler Style, going to want to sit a little bit more. Veroma's not really fast. A New Piece could show a little bit of speed stretching back out. Octane, not that quick. And Feathers is a stone cold closer. I think this puts Nice Ice in a really good spot. What I like is that Nice Ice could show speed, but look at the last time we saw Nice Ice in a kind of comparable spot, going a mile on the turf down here against optional claimers. First level allowance wins comes from off the pace in a tougher spot. Then in January, again, win a mile. I put a line right through that because there was some trouble in there, and that was a race that sent her to the bench from January to September. She shows back up in September. They go 5 furlongs on the turf. I think they probably just wanted to get a race under her off the bench. And then they took a shot on the dirt going 6th. I mean, she was favored in that race, but now she gets back going long on the turf where she'll get a much more comfortable trip out front. I hope they just get out of the gate and then look around. And if a New Piece wants to go, sit second. If a New Piece doesn't want to go, you go. I think she should get a comfortable forwardly placed trip in this race where there's not all that much speed. Nice Ice for me, Sniper, to kick off the Del Mar card on Saturday.
I'm down with that. You know how I like the situations where there's lone speed, especially on the turf. I mean, this is a good play. I like this horse.
Let's see if Tyler can get a little bit aggressive there with Nice Ice. So I've got one more earlier on the card before we get to yours in the 4th. I have one in the 3rd race that I'm looking at, and I'm giving a look to the number 5 in here, Happy Gal. I mean, she's another one that just makes a whole lot of sense. So Happy Gal debuted. She was a good third.
I bet that horse at Kentucky Downs.
And when she just missed, right?
Yes.
Just missed and had some trouble and was like trying to find a way through. Happy Gal comes out of that Kentucky race, which was very good. And they thought enough to take a shot in the Jessamine. But you know what? It was a tough field, and it was her first time going long. And she just ran into some trouble that race.
Yeah.
You know, we can pull it up using the Daily Racing Form formulator past performances. Shout out to our friends at Daily Racing Form. I'm using always a formulator. So Happy Gal is the 6 in this race that we're watching. She has a bad start. You see, she gets bumped at the start and then gets crossed over on. And now all of a sudden, she's a lot farther back than she'd been ever. And now she's going longer and she's farther back than she's ever been. She's the 6. She's behind all these horses. She's like 5 or 6 lengths out of it, but she's 10th in here. And so, you know, she just didn't want to be in that spot. The winner of this race doesn't really matter showing like the rest of it, because the winner of this race is Delight. And the winner of this race is basically right on the front end, wins by 5. And Delight went on, and
they were going slow, man.
You could just see it. And the winner, Delight, was only 5-1, or the winner was only 9-1 in the Breeders' Cup. Delight, like this horse was actually kind of live last week in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So I just think this is a lot softer spot for Happy Gal. I think we put a line right through that last race, and if we're playing her off of her Kentucky race, you know, she probably is 7-2 in here and not 6-1. And that race was against better. I just think it's a good spot for Happy Gal in here, Sniper. And hopefully, yeah, that's an unlucky beat for you there with the Kentucky race. Hopefully, if we can get back to anything like that. I mean, her first 3 races were good. She just has to prove that she really wants to go longer. But I'm expecting her to be more forwardly placed in here. Maybe she can sit 3rd or 4th and get a jump on some.
Yeah, that's probably where she's going to be best, is, you know, the kind of not stalk and pounce, but lay close and pounce. And that should be a great trip, especially at Del Mar, where you kind of have to be near the lead at the top of the stretch.
Yeah.
You don't see anybody kind of really too much just bombing from way back and winning races. They're usually kind of up close.
Your move's already started at that point, usually.
Exactly.
Like you built up that
stretch
momentum.
isn't really that long at on the turf at Del Mar, so you kind of have to be in position.
That's race number 3 with Happy Gal, and I believe right next door Barry has one for us in the 4th race, right?
Yes, I do. And this is just kind of one of those plays where you have horses that are going to get bet automatically no matter what because of their connections. So you have the 3, Woody or Woody,
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the 7, Fazia, and then there's a Mandela horse, Tina Ella. So these horses are automatically going to just take money off the rip. Doesn't matter what their stats look like, clearly, because Mandela really doesn't win too much first out. And that
So
horse
wait,
is
so we're saying
2-1.
Mandela has Teen Ella. Hey, that's a lot of Ellas with
Hey, but
Mandela and Teen Ella, right?
this horse is probably worth probably like $1 million anyway. I mean, this is
This is a
Warfront out of
and
Beholder.
Beholder. Just an incredible breeding on this one,
Right.
right?
And usually those types are overbet
Absolutely.
first time out.
Well, what's
And
funny
they don't
is
win
the funny thing is Beholder didn't win first time out.
first time out. Exactly.
She actually, and she showed a little bit, but she came back in her second start and won. So, you're right. Whatever the price is on the 4, it's going to be shorter than it should be.
Should be correct. And honestly, I don't think that horse is actually going to be favored when it's all said and done. I think
The
the
Baffert?
3 probably, yeah, the 3 will probably be the favorite. But with Bob coming back, he hasn't been firing at his usual clip yet. I'm sure he's going to get there, and especially with these young horses, that's his specialty. But you can get one in before I get going, and I ended up on number 2, Miss Monarch Bay, who, in her own right, is regally bred. Cost $940,000. Into Mischief. Dam Carlina was a stakes race or a stakes horse. I think she won a couple of graded stakes. I don't know if you could pull that up there.
Yeah, she was grade 2 place. She got really, really sharp. And the thing about her is she was like supposed to be a little bit better early on, and she got sharp late in her career. I actually remember playing her a few times, and there are a couple winners in this family too, and some precocity in the family too. Sine Wave was a first time out winner, and this horse was a runner-up first time out of the box and ran pretty well in the first couple starts. So there is a little precocity in this family also. And I'm kind of glad you pointed this horse out to Sniper, because Michael McCarthy was someone who, up until about a year or two ago, I would always play second time out. It was really good with second time starters. They've improved a lot with first time starters recently.
Yeah, he's been doing his thing, all the way around with his turf runners, with his dirt runners. He's getting better stock, and he's capitalizing on it. And this horse is probably one of the ones that I'm sure he's excited for. This horse, it looked like they were aiming to run this horse the first time at at the first meeting, the summer meet at Del Mar. Was training steadily and fast, and then all of a sudden kind of backed off a little bit. And opts for this spot instead of running in the summer, which tells me a lot. They took their time. They were patient with this horse. They attract Victor Espinoza, who's rides very well for this barn. I think all systems are go, despite the big connections or the bigger connections in this race. So I'll take a shot with a 10-1 versus some horses in here that might be 7-5, 8-5.
I think that was the old, well, you won't get a lemon. I wouldn't have got a lemon at Toyota of Orange. I think that was Holly and David Wilson, the Toyota owners. They own a lot of the dealerships out here. Those commercials were funny.
They got a Cadillac right there, though.
Yeah, they do. This is if you're listening and you're not sure if you want to play this race this weekend, just watch this race though. This should be a good race.
It's live,
with some of these fun 2-year-olds. And this is a great race to attack like Barry's doing, and just try to get a little creative, because you are going to have the 3, the 4, and the 7 that take money in here. They're all regally bred. They spend a bunch of money on these horses, and they all could be very, very nice maybe down the line. Try to beat them.
Honestly, all of these horses are very well bred. It's outstanding.
It's a really good group. I mean, even a horse like the Outside Horse, this 2-year-old daughter of Good Matt, like, she's really well bred too. So yeah, nice field lining up of 2-year-olds on Saturday at Del Mar, and that's going to go as race number 4. Right next door is the 5th race. In this 5th race, I started to warm up to the 4 Maeve of Connaught. And I think, she's a lightly raced filly that you can just easily go through her career. Her first 2 starts were in 2021 in Ireland, and they were one on the turf, one on the synthetic. She ran well in both of those. Then she came over here to the US. And when she debuted in the US in August, she hadn't run for 10 months. So she needed the race. She missed the break. She actually ran pretty well. She was only beaten like 2 lengths, and Belle Cherie was in there. Belle Cherie's going to be a shorter price than her. Following that race, Maeve of Connaught came right back. She had a little bit of trouble, and she was a good second on September the 10th at Del Mar. Her next start, she was favored in a maiden special weight race, and she won that race really easily. She sat beautifully. She sat a little closer because they were going faster. She was about 5 lengths off. She was in the 3rd flight. She looked like a winner all the way around. They just like tipped her to the outside and they just angled her out. She's stepping forward. Like, she's continuing to improve. She wasn't far behind Belle Cherie when everything was up against her that day. Off the bench, with trouble, coming from way out of it. I just think she's a more improved horse in here. Ballet Dancing is going to take a lot of money because she's dropping out of the Del Mar Oaks, and she's fine, but she's, like a deeper closer too, who is probably going to be a short price. If I'm going to have 2 horses that are going to be launching from out of it, and Ballet Dancing is 9-5, and I can get Maeve of Connaught at 5 or 6-1, I'll give me the 4 every day of the week. She's going to be 5,000 in your stable dual lineup. That's the price we need. I think she's a good pick 4, pick 5 type horse. I like her in this spot, the number 4.
I'm with you. That race is very, very tough, actually.
It's competitive.
Yeah. I think that one rated a high chaos factor for me. So that's why I kind of stayed away, because I would probably use more than one in there. But
yeah,
the 4 is definitely one of them. And I didn't really like the 6, who's probably going to get bet a little bit.
Me neither. Yeah, School Dance is going to take some money. In the 7 was actually not a bad price if you thought about throwing one in. They come into the Owen Hardy barn, switching barns, but Source wasn't far behind in a pretty similar spot last time out. If you can eliminate the August 21st race behind Rhea Moon. You liked Rhea Moon, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
That was one of your plays. Yeah.
Definitely was.
As Claudia Cure doesn't have bad races either, but I'm going to lean to the 4 Maeve of Connaught in race number 4. In race number 5, excuse me. I've got the 6th and the 9th still left. Where are you looking, my friend?
The 7th.
Okay, let's go race number 6, then we'll hit the 7th, and then we'll finish it up with the 9th and final. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out with us here on this Friday. Remember, we'll be here with you every Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time. The sun is coming in through my window. As you can see, I'm shining. I'm like a halo dropping down from heaven to give everybody some beautiful prices this weekend. Me and the
like
sniper.
Beyonce, huh? That's how that works?
Like Beyonce coming right down. All the way as we come down. And we move to race number 6. So in this 6th race, I'm looking at the number 9, Post Facto. Post Facto was in the Jack Sisterson barn and debuted at Del Mar, going long on the turf. Actually had some legitimate trouble that day. And then last time out, again, was going long on the turf. Post Facto is the 4 in here, and he just doesn't really have much of a shot. It's just not the kind of trip you want to see for a young horse early on in their career. So not a bad start for Post Facto, who's the 4 in here, but you could just sort of see the way things start to shape up in front of him. There's going to be some traffic. Now, all of a sudden, he's right in between horses going into the turn, and he's right up on the heels, right? Like right there. He's like bumping around. They don't know where to go. And instead of being like 2 or 3 lengths in front, he wanted to be where the 3 was. That's where they wanted to be. And now he's in between. He's got to back up. Like right away, if you bet this horse, you're already like, I'm done.
Oh, yeah. You can steady. He's steadied again.
Right now. And look, he's having to back up again even more down on the inside. He's in between horses. He just never really has an opportunity. And
it's like, in rounders.
Yes.
where the Teddy KGB is like, check it. That's what this horse was doing all the way, like, for like the first half of this race, just checking.
Man, I used to watch that with my pops all the time. That's such a good movie when he splashes the deck Don't splash my deck. Don't splash my deck. He just starts splashing it. He drops those f bombs like nobody else.
Oh, it's crazy.
So even right here, he's still wrapped up. He's got nowhere to go. He's trying to get through and find horses. He kind of angles around now, and he gets a little bit of room, but it's too late.
Yeah, he's out of gas at this point. He's checked so many times.
And there's no passing in
Right.
this race.
He's just okay. All right,
And
we're done.
the
here,
winner
so.
game time went wire to wire. So in a race where there was no passing, he had a whole lot of trouble, and then they just sort of wrapped up on him late. Yeah, I think it's a good spot for post facto because now
it's crazy that you say that, and I don't want to rain on that horse's parade because I think that horse has a really legit shot. But this race has a lot of things going on here, and
this is a crazy
the one
race.
horse. The one horse looks really interesting to me. I almost picked this horse, but it's another one of those situations where this horse could get the lead by default and just run around, and with nobody around him. And that's what I would be afraid of, especially with the breaking the weight, getting the apprentice, and the rail draw. It's wild, but this race is a tough race.
This is a fun race. I really like handicapping this race
is.
because you mentioned the one, the 3 local. Luna will get a little bit of action. Ice Storm's going to get some support. Beskar, shout out to the Mandalorian, who's going to be making a second start here. Lots of ways to go. Lord of Light was favored last time out, drew the rail and had a little bit of trouble, could get better. And now you have, post facto, who's just a wild card, who now comes into the new barn. They drop him in class and they take a shot on the dirt. So it said, hey, let's try to put
8 races, right, today?
On Saturday, I think there
Saturday,
are 9. So
okay.
you will have to double up.
Double
in
up.
one
That's
spot.
that's the one. That's the one I'm doubling up in.
This is the double up race here with post facto coming on the dirt for the first time. What was this? Your horse, was this Evita? This is Madonna, right? Don't cry
for me,
Argentina. The truth is, I never left you. That's all I knew about. That's right. I think
that's the only part of the song I know.
Yeah,
so.
but I remember seeing the commercials with with Madonna there. Shout out to Madonna. I don't know if you've watched recently on. Have you heard about the Weird Al movie?
Yeah, I heard it's really good.
It is. You got to watch it.
I want to see it.
It's so funny. It's on the Roku channel, and you can just download the Roku app and stream it for free. And it's really funny because like a lot of the movie is built around Weird Al and Madonna having a relationship.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
It's really funny to see.
Didn't know about or talk about.
And so it's just they have a bunch of cameos of people playing someone in the 80s, right? And you like they'll be at a party and you're like, oh, it's supposed to be that guy. It's really fun. If you throw it on in the background, it's worth watching. It's a blast, and they obviously aren't taking themselves seriously whatsoever. But that's the 6th race post facto. You've got one more. Lead us to your other, my friend.
Yes, sir. This is the stake or a stake.
Crosby, right? Yep.
The Catherine Crosby, restricted to fillies, 75K, going a mile on the turf. So, this one's another tough race. I mean, this card actually,
it is good.
It's very good. I mean,
what's contentious?
There's not a whole bunch of entries. It's not like loaded with like 14 horse fields. But every race is very competitive, and every race it doesn't look like a favorite laden kind of situation.
No, 3 or 4 horses at least that you have to build a case for in each race. It's good.
Yeah. Now in this race, I ended up on number 8, Gold for Kitten, and if you could pull up that replay from the February 19th race.
Yes, sir.
Now
so we're looking at the 3 horse on this one.
Yeah, and honestly, this horse probably wants to go longer than this, but you'll see the horse is the 3. Got down on the inside, was really kind of forwardly placed here, which was a good thing, but manages to get themselves into trouble.
Mm-hmm. It's that take the chance trip,
right? But ride the rail the whole way, and hopefully something will open up and you can get around. You see, he's kind of like really trying to gear this horse down to settle this horse, because I think being around those other horses kind of got that horse keyed up a little bit. And and this is basically the same place that this horse runs the whole way around.
I know.
Just in between, it never
Just
gets any
sitting
room
in,
to run,
never has a
and
chance.
right, and does kind of this whole thing around the whole track like a merry-go-round type situation just for this horse. There's other horses that move and get out and things like that, but this one just stayed trapped the whole way, and you can see at the end has some run, but
Yeah,
it was just way too late. You see this horse is just blocked. Kind of
just
gets blocked
nowhere.
the whole way. Nowhere,
I
no
know.
room the whole
Just
time.
never a chance. Like right here, where do you go? You can't chip
Nowhere.
to the
Trying to
outside
get
of your
out.
pin.
The
You're
seven's
just
there.
completely
Just
buried.
stuck.
Just completely buried. And man, and then at this point, you're just dulled a little bit because you've been
Right.
sitting there
And
waiting,
now
waiting, waiting. And even right now, like they never
and
even
she's
still
kind of
got a chance
moved.
to run because the
Right.
2 is like right up in front of them. This is a must use pick 4, pick 5 type of horse. And they should sit a really good trip in here, right? Probably
Yes,
in the
better
top
because
3.
right. And I think the post position makes all the difference. Being on the outside will help this horse a lot more. Um, as you can see, the workouts, the bullet in tow for this one from November 7th, 1 out of
Doing good.
42 that day. Sadler, as we know, is as good as it gets coming off layoff. I mean, he was bringing Flightland off a
Yep.
6-month rest
Mm-hmm.
to win easy, so that's not a problem here. I mean, this has all the markings of a horse that's going to run well. Whether she wins or not is another story, but she's going to give her best effort.
Yeah, this is a very nice play here. Gold for Kitten. And just like map it out in your head the way the race is going to shape up. Burgoo Alley is pretty quick.
Speed. Yep.
And then you've got one other Sugar Fix who will probably be close, but I think this horse is going to sit second or third, like in that top flight. And what, like you said, the draw is so nice because from the outside, she can get a good start. She can look around. She's fresh. And hey, maybe a horse like Burgoo Alley says, hey, we're dropping out of some tougher graded stakes. Let's sit behind. And maybe they let her go. Right. It's nice to have some of those options there
yes.
from the outside. I think this is a good play here.
And not getting trapped.
No,
Hopefully.
yeah. We don't want to get trapped there. Yeah. Gold for Kitten. No trapping for the sniper there in race number 7. So I'll bail out Barry. I got to do the bailout today.
Okay.
With Barry. Up. Let's go to race number 9 and let's take a look at Stonks.
Stonks. Yes.
Stonks.
Yes.
Stonks is a horse who I was expecting to be pretty good. This is a horse whose dam was a nice one on the turf. How unusual. She was a 5-time turf winner and was in some really solid races. And this is the first runner for that one. And then Stonks' debut was actually pretty good. This horse was 40-1 in the debut, and Stonks is the number 6. And so, okay, you're all pumped up. We got a horse, Barry, making their first start. They got into the starting gate. Ah, man, we're last right off the bat. Like first time, like you're excited, you got a horse and they don't break, and now you're dead last, going into the first turn. But the horse doesn't get discouraged, very easily could, just settles towards the back. And you notice that, towards the end of this race, you'll really see this horse start to move. Keep in mind, this is a 2-year-old going first time long on the grass in your first start. That's never easy to do. And that's what they're asking from Stonks here. And I think that's just because this horse is bred beautifully for the grass and he doesn't want to go short. So you know what? You get a race like this under him and he should be very, very fit in here. Now you can see him on the outside. He starts to move a little bit and watch what happens. So he's starting to move, but look at the 8 shift out a little bit.
Yep.
And that stops the 6. You can't really see it all that well until you're looking at the head on. But the 6 was starting to go, and the 8 horse was forced to shift out because the horse in front of him kind of was making him wide, and the 6 had to stop their rally.
Right. And he didn't want to run up on heels and fall.
So they got shuffled back a little bit sneaky, and now they're behind horses in a little bit of trouble. They get a nice seam, and they move through and actually show some ability, but they just can't get any closer to the group in front of them. They have to get wrapped up a little bit late. I think there is some sneaky, it wasn't like hit you over the face type trouble, but this horse just got caught in a bad spot if they're not caught in that spot, they may have been able to finish second
A lot closer. Yeah.
in this race or right there with that group. And I'm not even really worried about him winning this race. I'm just worried about a good run to set up for the second time out. And that's what I'm looking for now. I think this one will take a big step forward. He's 15-1 on the morning line. That's just way too high. He should be like 7 or 8-1 in here, about half of that.
Yeah.
That feels
that's
like
way
where he
too
should
high.
be.
That's probably where it'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's nice is in Stable Duel at 15-1 will only cost us $500. And, on a day where we have to use at least 2 in one race and double up, you could use this one and another one here. You could double up in the race that Barry and I were mentioning earlier.
Well, you know
Stomps.
me, I always have a bailout play.
Absolutely.
And I like the Secret Treasure in that race.
Secret Treasure, the number 6
The
horse.
6. It's Mike McCarthy's second time out. This horse seems to probably, since they're switching over to the turf, probably likes it a little bit, I think. And
That
Merritt's a good
debut
shot.
race was good, too. That was
Not
that
bad,
Carmel Road
yeah.
race. That was the Baffert horse who was very highly regarded. Carmel Road, who went over to Keeneland and was in the Breeders' Futurity. He was hammered in his debut, and then he came back and won by 8. Hard to figure. Third place finisher came out of that race to win a stakes race over at Los Alamitos. So a 6-1 shot for the Sniper. Secret Treasure, 2-year-old, making career start number 2. Couple Michael McCarthy horses for Barry this weekend. My man, we didn't talk last week on this show, we talked Breeders' Cup, but like I said, we get so used to talking every week when I didn't speak with you
I
and Matt
know.
for a few days. It's like, where are my boys? I haven't talked to them. What's wrong? But it's always a pleasure to start my Fridays chatting with you, my friend. And we miss Matt, but we look forward to having him back with us anytime that his work schedule will let it happen. What's up for you this weekend, my man? What are you going to be up to?
Just kind of laying low, just kind of riding it out to get to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we're in the in-between right now as Thanksgiving is a few weeks away. Happy holidays to everyone out there. And for those of you who are fans of Barry, you can always check him out on the Going in Circles podcast with Chuck Simon over there with Big Mondays. Barry does a fantastic job there, and he does great handicapping here with us. But what I like about a lot of those shows is you guys are just like weighing in on important stuff. You're reacting to stuff. It's not all just about handicapping and giving out selections there. It's a different style format. So you get to share just kind of insights. You get to talk with Chuck, kind of pick his brain a little bit about things that he's been through the years in the industry. It's a little bit of a different horse racing type show than a lot of people who just give out selections.
Yeah, I mean, he was a trainer. He's done a lot of things in the industry, even in the harness industry. So he has a lot of industry knowledge from tip to tail, backstretch stuff to gambling side. He's just a wealth of knowledge and has taught me so many different things. And, he's definitely a great resource for anybody in the industry.
Barry, my friend, you have a great weekend. You and the family take care over there. Everyone,
happy birthday, Mom. Milo.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. We know it's a crazy time. There's so much great content out there. There's all these different streaming services. There's all these podcasts. There's so much stuff. Anytime you take a minute out of your time to hang out with us, I'm always appreciated. And I promise you, always take your time very seriously. We want to help you make some money. It's the No Chalk Zone here. Good luck this weekend. We say goodbye, but we say hello to Joey Cleveland.
Better, you want to spread your pony knowledge wide. Oh, better, I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too.